Radical.
So here's a story of how my starter went out and what I did. In less than a 24-hour period, I go from having a vehicle that needs a starter, bad starter, to getting that starter put on and being able to make it back to work. So if you want to know exactly how you do this, listen to me. All right, so first you got to determine and take a good educated guess of what your car issue is. Sometimes it's as simple as maybe you need some blinker fluid. Don't run low on, I'm just kidding. Blinker fluid is not a thing, all right? So don't go looking out there to make sure you've tipped off your blinker fluid. Now my issue was I had a starter that went bad in my Chevy Impala. And the Impala has 175,000 miles on it, so it's very reasonable for the starter to go out. Of course, I was told that mine went out a little early because I have a very small gasket leak, and oil can get on that starter and they can cause it to burn out a little before their time. Now, what it was doing for the last couple weeks, maybe months to be actually honest, and you don't notice it over time, this is why it's very important to actually pay attention to how your car's starting and, to make sure it's not a delayed start. I would say, freaking the last year, I've had a delayed start, but it wasn't that noticeable in my Impala. But now, it starts up perfect. Just like that every single time. So be aware that you need to be listening to and paying attention to how long it takes your car to start. On a Chevy Impala, it should be instant. Hell, in any car, it should be instant. If it's not starting, you have an issue with your starter or you have an issue with your battery cable connection. That was the other thing I was thinking about, the battery terminals. I have a gold terminal on the positive I use for my car audio system, but I haven't gotten around to switching out the negative, which is like a plate. I call it a plate. I'm not sure what the technical term of it was. Now, the replacement terminals you can get, they look like forks, where it wraps around the wraps around the post, and you have that one bolt that goes through. I like those. Those are my second favorite behind the gold-plated ones that go down with the Allen wrenches. Now, the worst kind is the plate kind with the little flimsy screws. I don't understand why. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. The post you get, the replacement post from these car shops, these car parts places are just perfect. They're perfect. No problem with those. If you have the plate type, then eventually what happens is sometimes those screws, I'm not sure exactly what happens, but mine was loosey-goosey. Even after I tightened it up, the negative was very, very, very loose. And I thought, wrongly, that might have been the cause of the starts, the poor starting or the slow starting. Now what happened was, I think I got that train of thought because I moved the negative battery connection a little bit, wiggled it a little bit, and it seemed to start, not normal and perfect, but twice as good. So I'm like, it's just a battery connection. But it was the starter. And that night before, last night, as I'm outside, I start it, and it's really, really, really difficult. I'd say maybe 3 seconds before it starts, I think, okay, in the morning, I've got to go either to the mechanics and drop it off and have it checked out, or I'm going to go to a parts place. I chose to go to a parts place and to go ahead and buy a starter. Now listen up, this is some great advice for a lot of you that are in a similar position and you want to have that sub 24-hour turnaround between the time you have a problem and you actually get to your solution and you make it back to work, or wherever you got to go. Here's what you want to do. You want to go to a parts place. You want to buy the part. You want to buy the part that you think you will need. And maybe you want to buy another part that you think you might need, depending on how recent it's been since you replaced those parts. They might say, Rick, I don't want to waste money. Well, you're not wasting money. Because what happens is they have a return policy at these places to where, you don't put it on, you don't install it. The mechanic says that's not what you need. You can take it right back and get all your money back. So that's a tip right there. Okay? Write that one down. It's very important. Not just when it comes to this kind of stuff, but you can always take things back. Right? Always hold on to those receipts. So what I did was I went ahead and bought it after they checked it, because they have their machine. They came out and they checked my battery, alternator. It had already been checked the week before, but I was like, why not? They checked that, said that was fine. And to check my starter, they was going to have me start the vehicle. Well, this time it did not start. Not only did it not start, but some smoke, a little bit of smoke came from that starter. So pretty much it was done. No tapping on this thing was actually going to bring it back. That's also something they say that happens sometimes. If you tap on the starter, sometimes you can get like a little bit more out of it. This last time, it didn't want to do anything. I tried to turn it over, and then when it went out, it just went out. And that morning, it was about a 4-second delay from when I turned the key to when it actually, it was so sluggish that last time. But I got it started up. I got to the parts place, had it checked out, bought the part. Always, bring cash or card with you so you can buy the part, definitely. That way, because you would actually have to get a ride to go back home to get your debit card to come back to buy the part. And then you had to pay somebody for gas or, thumb somebody, or, well, not thumb somebody unless you really, really need a ride and then they're attractive or whatnot, or even if they're not, if you can get a free ride, you can thumb somebody. Okay, sorry, I didn't mean to get graphic. Okay, so here's a part that is also another positive. If you're at a parts place, they're going to know the local mechanics. They're going to know the local tow people generally. And there's one that they mentioned that was a little expensive, but good. I'm thinking, okay, reliability, tow, okay. What are they going to be doing? Like, I understand going to a reliable mechanic, but, if you just need to tow, like if they don't have your car flipped over and they don't, hit the corners, fast enough to flip your car over or dent your car, then okay. What's the difference between a tow job? Basically, it's like you're looking at the price. You're looking at the price. It took me about half an hour to actually find somebody because for some reason, I don't know. It's like just Google was slow. The connection was slow on the phone. 30 minutes later, I get somebody there and it's $75. $75 to go 5 minutes down the road. That's a jip. I understand that, it's the time, the fact they got to put a little bit of gas in their vehicle, but $75, that is a bit much. But I can't complain because the wrecker I knew would have been maybe 50 miles out and it would have defeated the purpose because you would have got a deal, but not really because they're going to actually charge you by the mile. So that process took about maybe an hour from when I got there, had it tested, and had it taken to a really fast mechanic. This mechanic, they weren't that cheap. Starter job, $240. Does that seem reasonable for a starter install? But they were done quick, so I'm not going to complain. Number one, on short notice. Number two, they did it in a couple hours. So I wasn't complaining. Not at all. Because my regular mechanic, they could not get to it. I got the vehicle back, and it's doing great. Starts up perfect, just wonderful. So, again, here's how you want to know. I'm not even going to say that because I'm not a true mechanic. In my instance, it's only going to be a couple things if your car is doing a specific thing. If you turn the key, if there's a delay, and you actually, maybe you can pop your hood also and listen. If it's trying its hardest to start and then it doesn't, then, well, it's probably the starter. Could be other things. There are many things that could cause your engine to be funky, but usually it's in the name there, starter. You have one job. You have one job is to start the car. And this starter was a great starter. It was. Hell, it probably would have lasted far past 200,000 miles if it wasn't for the fact that it had some oil on it. Really, really good part there. So now what I got to do is make sure that next week I take care of this minor oil leak for a variety of reasons, because I don't like spending money on oil. But it's terrible if you actually have one foul out, mostly because an oil leak and Asian wear is to get a brand new one and then that go out just because you forgot to actually seal your gaskets. So hopefully this was helpful. If you have any questions, further questions about this story, leave it in the comment section down below. If you have some stories, some starter stories, if you have some starter stories to share yourself, feel free to in the comment section. Thank you.